Hi again. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Real Estate for Real People. I'm Tamara, and
I'm Shannon.
we're the Stone Sisters, and today we're going to share with you
how to win in multiple offers. We are seeing multiple offers, I think, all across the country. The market is very, very active. It's hard to win out in a multiple offer, and majority of properties are going into multiple offers. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was talking to an agent at our group yesterday, and she said, I can't believe it. I'm writing with a buyer on a property, and I'm not in multiple offers. I think that was the first one she's written in a year to not be going into multiple offers. So this is the reality of the market, and we would love to share some tips with you on how do you best prepare the best offer so that you win in that multiple offer.
Yeah. You know, what can you do to give yourself a competitive advantage? Mm-hmm. Because you're up against, on average, I would say, depending on the price point and type of property, but you can expect that you'll have 2 or 3 other buyers who are trying to buy the same property, upwards of 40.
For sure.
We've had 40 different offers coming in on properties. So what do you do to be able to secure a home, particularly in this market where prices are escalating?
Overnight.
Yeah, but certainly every week we are seeing higher prices, and consistently we're seeing records get broken, and values that we thought weren't attainable are attainable, and then some.
Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing it comes down to is price. Mm-hmm. There's no question. You have to go in with your highest possible price that you can. Mm-hmm. And something that I always, we always say to clients is, would you be willing to walk away for that property? Go in with your highest price that you weren't willing to lose it for. Mm-hmm. If it sells for $10,000 above that and you're okay to walk away from that, then you're at your max price.
Yeah, you don't want to get silly with it. You don't want to get in over your head. Mm-hmm. You really don't want to overextend yourself and be house poor. But in a market like we're seeing, where the values have changed so dramatically, it used to be we would look at a house that was on the market, and you'd say, okay, well, other homes like this have sold over the past 3 or 6 months. So, this is a fair price, and I should expect to pay about 98% of what it's listed for. Now I think you have to look and say, okay, well, 3 months ago or 1 month ago, a house sold for, $600,000. So I've got to add another 8% because that's how much the market has gone up. And then I know I'm against 10 other people. So at least it's not 40, but it is 10. So you add on to that as well.
Mm-hmm. And so the price really, we often get asked, well, what price? And it's so hard to say. And, we don't know. I mean, we just had a property that sold. It was a townhouse and was listed at one price, and it sold over 200,000 over asking. Still under $1 million. But, in our marketplace, that was a significant increase. And, we hadn't seen a townhouse in that area of town sell at that price point ever. So they certainly broke a record there. And I'm sure no one predicted that it would sell at that point. So price is really going to be determined by each individual buyer and what they feel that value is. And keep in mind, we have lots of buyers that are coming here from other cities that are selling their properties. And, they don't blink an eye at some of our list prices. Kelowna is still deemed, and the Okanagan in general is still deemed relatively affordable, if we can, believe that.
So, with average price over $1 million. But
but it is. So,
and it's a good point because, we'll still receive questions from buyers saying, okay, well, but the house needs some work, or, the floors are scratched, or it's not all that nice. So I think I'm going to go in, at 95% of asking or 99% of asking. And, it's really tough. And it's something that we talk with our other agents at Stone Sisters about a lot is, we aren't the type of agents who are going to force somebody. We don't ever want to force someone to pay more than they're comfortable because they're the ones paying for this.
Yeah.
And yet it can be heartbreaking seeing somebody consistently lose out on houses. We've had some clients make very good offers. Arguably they should have been successful.
Yes.
And they've lost out 15, 18, 20 times making offers. So it's tough.
It's tough. And, really, I guess the whole strategy with it is go in with your best foot forward. That's all you can do on the price side, and go in with what you feel that value is. Knowing the market we're in right now, prices are going to continue to go up. I don't foresee an end in this anytime soon. So knowing that you're buying today, you're going to do just fine. And I think that's a big component of it too.
Yeah, as long as you can afford it.
Yeah.
So some of the things you can do, you can determine a price that is within your means and you're able to sustain those mortgage payments. And then I think you have to look at it and go, okay, now, what else can I do? What, aside from price, because let's assume there are 10 offers and they're all the same price.
That's right.
What else can you do?
And I think real estate is emotional. So residential real estate is very emotional. And, I speak from experience. When you sell your house, you want to sell it to someone that's going to enjoy it the same way that you did, that's going to appreciate the renovations that you did, the sweat that you put in to do those renovations and, installing those new floors or, the fact that you made sure that the windows were sparkly clean before they went through. You want someone to notice those things and appreciate it. And so it's emotional. So if your offer price is the same, but you go in with a video showing that, hey, this is, we love your home and you're sincere on that video and talking about how you're going to live yourself in that home, you're going to strike a chord with that seller.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I know a couple of years ago, I think it was that it was quite dramatic and it was all over the news, where some sellers had accepted a far lower price.
Yes, that's right.
Than any of the other competing bids because they were seniors, a senior couple selling a home. They weren't overly concerned about money and really wanted the house to go to the right person. And those are heartwarming stories. And you go, okay, well, we just need to find, as a buyer, we're going to find sellers like that. I haven't met one.
No.
Because money talks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just the way that this is. But, selling that emotion does definitely help. And people want to know who's going to be buying their house. It's, it's getting that insider information on the buyer. It's not just a name. It's, you're a family. You're going to raise your kids. They're going to play in the backyard and they appreciate the fact that, you put a swing back there and they're going to use it every single day. Like I would want those people to live in that house versus someone that's going to just rent it out. That's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. And I think a lot of people, through COVID, lots of us, the only people we were talking to over the fence was the neighbors.
Yes.
And so you often, if you've got good neighbors, that would matter as well. And knowing that the neighbors that you've loved and you've lived there for however many years, that the new family coming in will also get along well with those neighbors and keep that sense of cohesiveness.
So, and selling that emotion, a video is the best. But if you can't do a video, do an email, draft an email, a letter that you can do, include a picture of your family or yourself on that.
Any way
dog.
That, we
whichever,
had some great letters with the family pet, and it's sort of written from Fido's point of view. And
we did have that. That was really good. They won that one actually. So that emotion. The next thing is, subjects or your clauses that you have. You want to do your due diligence on the property. You want to have time to do that. Yeah. But you want to limit those conditions if you can. So the fewer subjects you have, the better. We've seen lots of offers come through that are subject free. And that's, the nature of this market that we're in. You are going to compete sometimes in a situation where you're going to be against somebody else that's going to go in and comfortable going in without any conditions.
So no home inspection, no confirmation of financing,
no appraisal.
Yeah.
So we're not huge fans of that. I hesitate on that. At the same time, I know sometimes that's what you have to do to be able to secure that property. Yeah. And, all we can say is do as much due diligence as you can before you put that offer in place. Yeah. Typically we're seeing, property gets listed. You have about a week that seller is allowing showings to go through and then they look at an offer date. So in that time, go and check out the city file. Yeah. If there's tenants in the property, review those lease agreements if you can. Again, ensuring that your mortgage, you can even send that property, that MLS listing to your mortgage broker and say, this is the property. Yeah. Do you think it will appraise? Can you do a small appraisal without walking through the home or any of those things that you can do to eliminate any of those risks so that you can then go in with subject free?
Well, there's a home inspector in town who reached out and she's offering a mini home inspection and available on quite short notice. It's not an in-depth, really extensive report like you would normally get, but she's able to go and do this sort of after hours so that instead of needing a week or 2 weeks for a home inspection clause, you might be able to have that removed in a day or two.
And maybe, fingers crossed, you might be able to do that before you submit your offer if you're willing to forego that cost, depending on who's in the home and if the sellers would allow you to. But that might be something as well. So few subjects. The next thing is deposit. This is a big component of an offer. You know,
it really is. More so now than it used to be.
Yes.
People are really, really paying attention to a deposit. And
so on average, what would you say that deposit should be?
Oh, I know in bigger centers, they do a percentage. They'll say, 5% of purchase price or what have you. Here, we don't really see that. But, on the low end, a deposit, if it's a $400,000 or $500,000 condo or what have you, it might be a $20,000 deposit. On a $4 million property, it's probably $250,000 or more. And
something, so you want to have that deposit to be sort of within the norm. If you can have that deposit to be higher, have that deposit higher. That really shows that you're willing and able as a buyer to be without that money from the day you remove your conditions until closing time. So,
and that deposit is part of the purchase price.
Yes.
So it's not above and beyond whatever the price is that you're agreeing to pay for the home. It's part of your down payment, but it does mean that it's out of your bank account and sitting in trust until closing.
Something that we are seeing with some great success is that people are putting their deposits up front. Typically here in offers, people don't pay their deposits until the subject removal date. So say you make your offer, you have subjects in place for 10 days while you do your due diligence, such as your home inspection or your bank appraisal, and then you put your deposit. We're seeing now that to be successful in an offer, people will say, we're going to have our deposit or our subjects off in 10 days, but we're going to pay our deposit today. Yeah. And we're going to pay, maybe if it's even just a portion. If your overall deposit's $100,000, maybe they pay $25,000 upon acceptance, $75,000 on subject removal. If you don't remove those conditions, that deposit gets sent back to you, but it just shows your intent again.
Yeah, I think it's a strong signal. Something that we've also started to see more recently is deposits payable directly to the sellers.
Yes.
And I know that can be, as a buyer, that can be a little bit risky, because what if something happens and you've given the sellers $25,000 or what have you? But if there are two offers that are identical and one of them, the deposit, instead of sitting, at a trust account or at the lawyer's trust account, if it's paid directly to the sellers, it can be strong. It's, not necessarily advisable when you're buying. But
a seller does certainly look at that. And we have seen that win out in situations. Or even you can again do a portion going directly to the seller and a portion maybe gets held in trust. But a seller does like that. And then the last thing is closing dates. When that property closes, so that's the completion date and then the possession date. And that's when the property becomes yours. That's when, it changes hands on title and you get to possession as the day that you get to move in. But if you're flexible, we actually have seen some offers and where the dates they leave blank. They let the seller fill those in. We're flexible. If you want 6 weeks, that's great. If you want 2 months, that's even great. So,
and longer in some cases.
6 months. So that's something. I mean, we've even seen some situations where the buyer will say, we're happy for you to stay in the property. You can rent it back. We'll complete tomorrow. Not technically, but we'll complete as quickly as we can. And you can rent it back while you go and try to find something. Because it's hard for those sellers to then turn around and become buyers in this market.
Oh, I think that's the whole issue, is lack of supply in our market. And we know a number of people who are thinking of selling their homes right now, but they have no idea where they're going. And that would be really reassuring. That, I could see some sellers actually taking less for their home if they knew that they would have, a month-to-month tenancy up to a period of, say, a year, but where they would be able to stay living in their home while they found something.
Absolutely.
It's not a strategy we're seeing done a lot, but I think it would be really appealing to people.
And it would actually encourage a lot of people to actually take the step to sell. Because if they had a year to find something, that would change things.
It's reminding me of a cartoon that I saw that went around on one of the realtor Facebook groups or something recently. And it talked about, there were two agents there, one representing the seller and one representing the buyer. And the seller said, okay, thank you, buyer's realtor. Thank you so much for this offer. Just noticed it's got signatures on it, but nothing else. It's completely blank. And the buyer's realtor said, yeah, we've written so many offers. We're exhausted. Just fill in the price, the terms, everything you want. We're done. And it's all, you laugh and you go, oh, that's crazy. And that's actually almost what the market's like.
Yeah, it is. It's tough being a buyer right now.
It's really tough. It's, hopefully these little tips will give you just a nugget or two of something that you could use and hopefully help give you a bit of an advantage to be able to secure something in this escalating market.
And if you have any other questions, or if you would like us or one of our agents to help you make sure that you can secure a property, please let us know. We're always happy to help.